Happy Friday, everybody. I'm Nick Slavic. I'm the proprietor of the Nick Slavic Painting and Restoration Company. I'm also the host of this show, Ask a Painter Live. It's a weekly live Facebook show where I use my over 2 decades as a business owner and a craftsman to answer any of your questions. And we're going to get to more of that stuff later on this show. This is going to be an open show after I present to you a free, bang up, super cool app that you can use for estimating. Any topic, any question, any comment, anything you want to talk about. It can be business related, coding science related, social media related, whatever you want. This is an open show. So first, I would like to thank the PCA, the Painting Contractors Association. These people have the same core values as I do. It's a group of some of the most professional craftspeople and business owners in the world. And their mission is to reform the trades, bring bright new minds, like many that you've seen on my show as guests, into this industry to reform it. We need to professionalize this industry. We need to bring this industry kicking and screaming into the 21st century here. And yeah, so it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm a big fan of taking the 80% of our industry that is a single person company and professionalizing them. Not that they are not unprofessionalized. It's just that when I speak to people, the people who need the most help are those insanely thoughtful, insanely good craftspeople who are doing the work themselves. They're estimating, they're marketing, they're doing the books, they're doing all the painting, and they're out there doing color consults for their people. And you know what? After a bunch of years, it just wears on them, and they need to make this choice whether to take it to the next level, more professionalize, or to find something else. And I'm afraid that a lot of these people burn out because they feel like they're toiling all alone in this stuff. That's not the case. PCA is there for you guys, especially during COVID. They dropped everything that they were doing and created a whole bunch of resources free for the industry. Obviously, you know, there's people like me there. There's people like people you've seen on the show, but the PCA has a whole bunch of free resources too, including industry standards. These are a series of standards. If you've ever wondered what is a properly painted surface, they actually have it spelled out. Now, you have to get this. You have to inform your clients about it. You have to inform your builders about it. But that's the standard that I always get asked about. Hey, this client says I didn't do a good job. I know I did do a good job. Now what? Well, here's some standards for you. And guess what? They're all free. So PCA, go do it, guys. It's an awesome thing. Adam Boise, thank God it's Friday. Ask a Painter Live. I love it. I love it. So get those questions ready. You guys can start listing your questions, comments, whatever you want, topics you want to talk about in the comments here. And then, we'll get to them after this app I want to show you guys. So Bolinos, thank you guys for watching. I love this stuff. So let's see here. Yeah. So we're going to get to it. So 2020 has been the year of mastering the basics within my company, for my apprentices, my craftspeople, and for this show. And we've been going through job costing, which is near and dear to my heart. Unsexy, but awesome. It'll transform your life and your business. Industry benchmarks, same thing. It may be unsexy, but it takes all the world of what should I charge? How should I charge? What should I pay people? What should I be making? What should I be doing? And it basically says, here's a place to start. It's not perfect, but start here and start using this stuff and going forward. We've built on job costing. We've built on industry benchmarks. I've shown you images of my own house, my own project. I've broke it down by production rates. I've shown you my estimating theory, my 3 methods of estimating. And now we're going to go into something for you. Now that you have all this data, you can compress it into this beautiful, free, professional format from Sherwin Williams, something that you can get right now. It's an app for your phone, and you can start sending out professional estimates today. So I've been on Google for a lot of years. I send out a lot of estimates via the Sherwin Williams app and Google. There's a whole bunch of other platforms, software suites that you can buy into, and they're robust. And a lot of times they're too robust for people just getting into. They are amazing works of technology, but if you're not ready for them, there's other places you can start that do sort of like race car things. And race car to me is they do one thing and they do it very, very well. These other things kind of combine a lot of other things, timekeeping and what else. So basically, I'm going to show you guys a free tool right now that you can use to send out estimates in an insanely professional format. So you can get on your phone right now, Android or Apple, and search for Sherwin Williams Pro App. A lot of you guys are already on MySW, things like that. You can order online. You can check your account, which again, When you track your numbers, you have no idea how beneficial looking up your account, seeing a Excel spreadsheet of all of your invoices, job names, and costs, importing those into your own like models and spreadsheets, and then using those numbers for something. It's insanely useful. Now you can also send out estimates via that. So Sherwin Williams Pro App. Download that to your phone. Again, this is free. There's nothing better than free. Ask a Painter Show, Sherwin Williams app. This brings up my account. So you can see Nick Slavic Painting and Restoration, my main account. I have a bunch of sub accounts that I use for large projects. My home store, Shakopee here. And then basically, if you scroll down to the bottom of this thing, it shows you some of your products that you've used recently. And then you can click this, create a new bid. You can also, look at your old archive bids down there as well. So you can click on a new bid, and I'm just going to kind of walk you through this stuff right here. Click on a new bid, and it'll bring up this screen. And what's really cool about this is that this isn't this suite of software that you have to learn how to use. You don't have to learn how to do spreadsheets. If you click create a new bid, it'll actually prompt you through all the steps. It guides you through the process. So this is insanely good. This is easier than a lot of the apps you're using right now on your phone. So get a new bid rolling. Again, I just using my name for the customer name. And when I store all my estimates, I do it by last name dash first name, just so you can look it up a little easier. All right, so you click next. It'll bring you to this screen. So it shows Nick Slavic here, pricing method. We'll get into that later, but you can price it a couple different ways. This is a draft right now. And this is cool. You can actually import the logo of your company on here. Again, one more step in professionalization. Project info. So basically, you just go right down this list here, starting with project info. We'll click that. It'll take us to the next screen. Client information. So Nick Slavic, nickslavic.com. Here's my phone number. Hit next. Where's the project taking place? Couldn't get easier, folks. This is my address out here, New Prague, Minnesota. You click next again. And then you can start doing your bid summary, which is the new area. You click on your new area and you can actually put in, is this a living room? Is this a exterior? Whatever else this is. So we're going to click that. And what tasks will you be doing? And I'm just doing the exterior. Since we've used the Slavic house, this house, as an example before, we're going to continue to use that. I'm going to show you how you can take your production rates and put them in here. So remember, we did that spreadsheet. We used the Hover app to get exact measurements within an inch of the entire outside of this house. We used a spreadsheet to figure out the actual square footage for 2 coats. And now we're just going to enter this into here. So we're going to do the body and the trim on my house on this project. And what products? Now, this is really cool. Instead of writing all this in from freehand, you can do a query and search and find all the products that Sherwin carries right through here. So on my house, rain refresh, and then some solo on some doors. And then you click continue and add notes. So this is the important part. So this isn't sort of like a cookie cutter sort of thing where, well, it got close, but I didn't really do it. You can actually input all of this specific information. This house was a brand new LP sided house. So we need to inspect the caulking on it all since we were the first ones on this job. And then just as another note, all the siding and trim one color, and you click save. And then add a price to this area. So this is where it gets interesting. This is where what everybody thinks estimating apps do for you is you hit an address and it says, hey, Bill, you should be charging X amount for this house. You need some knowledge coming into these things. And that's why I preach job costing and industry benchmarks. Job costing and industry benchmarks got us to the point in this Slavic house plan where we got the square footage of the house. I painted the thing. I added up the paint. I added up the labor, and it spit out this thing for me that said, this is how many square footage. This is how much square footage on the outside of the house. This is how much paint you used. And this is how much hours you used. And that basically broke it down by, this is what I charged for this house per square foot. And I use that information then to input into the Sherwin Williams app now that we have all that. So I just did a square foot. You can do a unit pricing. So, if you charge $200 to paint the front and back of a metal service door, you can just put a unit price of $200. You don't have to measure the door and put in a square footage for that there. And so I just put in the square footage of the outside of this house, siding and trim. And then based on that spreadsheet that I shared with you guys, I just went down and got that little thing, $1.81 that I ended up charging for this house. Now, you don't need to know this when you're starting off. 80% of our industry does not. Well, 80%, maybe 90% doesn't, based on what I've seen. You can basically say, listen, I feel like this house is a $6,000 exterior repaint. Fine. If you don't have the data to back that up, if you get the job, track the data. Now you have the data. Now you have that one very important data point. And if you made a whole bunch of money and your production rates were very high, you can say, okay, that was an accepted job. That's good. But if I really needed the work, I could come down a bit. Or if you completely lost your tail, you didn't make any money, then you say, okay, next time we're going to have to call this an $8,200 house because we need to make up a little more money on these things. Maybe I didn't bid it right. Maybe I underperformed. Maybe I took a bunch of days off in there, something like that. But that'll basically get you on a price. You hit save. And then it's going to spit out your estimate for you, bid summary. So you can see the project ultra professional on top. It gives all the information down here. It even has a picture of the outside of the house on there as well in the estimate. You scroll all the way down to the bottom there, and it's basically, the whole estimate right there in a very professional form. If you click save, it'll just save it to your app. That's fine. But if you click preview, you can actually email this out to your client then, which is really cool. So it will send this out to your client saying, here's all your information, the project info, here's the bid, and it's all sent there in a professional form. So if you're still doing duplicates, carbon duplicates, if you're writing them on paper, that sort of stuff, that's not bad. But there is a way that takes less effort than that, and you have a permanent record of this stuff. One of the cool things about this app is if you already have your square footage price or your unit price in there, you don't have to recreate and re-enter all this stuff. You can actually duplicate and replicate that estimate. So if you have another house, you can just hit duplicate that estimate, change the client's info, upload a new picture, and all your stuff's already in there. So again, saving time. You're not looking through a spreadsheet. You're not recalculating all this stuff. It's really cool. It's really cool, and it's really free. So compose the email draft or save it for later. And at that time, you send it out to the client. And it's just listen, folks, I like simple. This is simple. This is as simple as an estimating thing gets. Better yet, it's free. So I would say check out Sherwin Williams Pro App, free for your phone, and just try it. It's insanely intuitive. And if you're looking for that first step into getting out of paper estimates, verbal estimates, things like that, this is it, folks. Give it a try. So, all right, sharing the good stuff with you guys here. Let's talk about random questions. All right, let's get rid of that. Let's go full screen here. All right, so questions. List all your questions, all your topics, all your comments down below. Yeah, the Bolinos, you guys are awesome. Thank you so much, Lacey. Thank you for watching. Enjoy talking with you guys. Adam, thanks again for the awesome comment here. PCA has been so great. So many valuable resources. Absolutely. Yeah. And if nothing else, there's a whole bunch of very curious minds in the PCA that love talking about this stuff. So, Brian, the man, check out Brian Santos. If you ever get a chance to talk to Brian Santos, do yourself a favor. This is one of the brightest minds in the industry. I'd like to see some high definition photos of each of the levels to coordinate with the written standards that are sanctioned by the PCA. Yes. That would be an exhausting sort of exercise, but it would be probably one of the most insanely valuable things in our industry. One of the things, Brian, that I know you'd probably be really interested in is I would like to closely coordinate that with drywall industry, because most of our problems come from them. Now, again, I don't want to point the fingers, but we don't do drywall. Or most of the time when we get put into a job site, our purview is not the drywall. There's a specific person there to do drywall. And on a typical new construction house, for every 1,000 square feet of house, we spend between 5 and 10 hours fixing sand marks, pinholes, things like that from the actual drywall process, not trade damage from later on, people bumping it and stuff. So Brian, this would be, man, one of the most valuable things we could ever do for the industry is you combine those painting standards, combine drywall standards, and show how those things mesh together like that so that there's a seamless transition from drywall to painting. And we get judged based on what they do. And I might argue, admitting that I might be biased because I'm a painter, but we should not have to fix somebody's brand new work before we do our work. And it shouldn't be our responsibility. I have talks with builders all the time where I get into a newly constructed house and you take out an LED light and you start shining it around. And I made the mistake once of circling defects on brand new drywall with a pencil. And it's not that that's wrong in itself, but the builder called me up screaming saying, Are you kidding me? You made notice of all those defects? Like if the client sees that, they are going to go nuts. And I said, well, good. I just saved your drywaller some time. Get him back in here and do that. And they're like, our drywaller's not good at that. He's on to the next job. He's not a details guy. He doesn't have time for this. And I ended up fixing it. And that's what sort of sparked off the sort of thing of, I just build that into my estimates now. I build it in. I actually put it as a line item in my new construction of X amount of hours per square footage of light checks and fixing, just because the drywallers won't do it. Or if they do it, they're going to be super, it's going to be super inconvenient for you when they want to do it. Like you'll start priming and painting and then they'll come in and drywall the whole house up. So yeah, I love that. I think that's a great suggestion. And in the PCA in the next couple of years, Brian, maybe there's a committee headed up by Brian Santos who would do some of that stuff. So updates on your master classes. Yes. An hour ago, I actually spoke with the PCA and we're trying to figure out, I want to give deference to the industry. I'm going to do these things regardless, but to bring value to the industry, I'm hoping that we can bring on a whole bunch of industry partners and the PCA in doing this stuff. So I sort of like was waiting to see who all wanted to be involved in this, if we could broaden the reach of it just beyond my audience. And we made an agreement today and we're going to go forward and we're going to start getting these out. So I would say, look forward to, I would guess within 8 weeks, there'll probably be a schedule announced, and I'm going to do them fairly regularly. If you haven't, Lacey, look up Corey Leister, cabinet. She runs a cabinet painting forum on Facebook. She's doing a whole bunch of master's classes, classes out in Pennsylvania. She has a classroom. She actually sells her own line of paint. She's an insanely good person and a very forward thinker. She's going to have me out in Pennsylvania. I'd have to check the dates, probably within the next 6 weeks here, 6-7 weeks. And I would look into that. And that's probably the next hard date that I have on the books here. Oh, David, love your show, DC Contracting. Oh man, thanks for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. All right. How do you handle the final walkthrough and not being called back again for touch-ups after that walkthrough? Yeah. So I actually incentivize painters and production managers in my company on fast production rates and low callbacks. So we gotta balance the both here. So, all right. I am a firm believer in having a checklist, and waiting till the end to fix all these problems is not the best way to do this. I created my simple standard operating procedure checklist, my SOP checklist, so that people follow the process from start to finish, doing each task 100% to prevent any callbacks. Now, again, we realize not everybody in this industry is as thoughtful as us. Maybe they skip a few things. Maybe their mind is just wandering and there's always things. That's why we have people to verify this stuff. So I have 2 production managers that are incentivized highly on the amount of callbacks that we get. And we track them, we track the percentage, we track the rate, and we also track the percentage that it throws off financials when we do get called back. So it's very hurtful to a company, both spiritually and financially. So yeah, I'm a firm, again, unsatisfying answer in a series of unsatisfying answers, but it's getting rid of callbacks starts from the start. And I do know the recipe for getting callbacks is to, people say, yeah, the recipe for getting callbacks is somebody who's not as experienced as you, send them on a job site. And you know what? I don't like confrontation. It's an awkward conversation. Just let them go. I'm sure they'll do the right thing and I'll check up with them later. That's a guaranteed callback in that situation. If you cannot be there 100% of the time, set them up on the job day one, show them the codings, what you're doing, the expectations, check on them halfway through. In my company, we check on them usually twice daily, give or take. And then at the end, do the final walkthrough and just make sure with your skilled eyes that they're doing it. Now, again, these are things that painters and paint business owners don't want to do. It's very labor intensive. It's a lot of human contact, which most of us are not up for that sort of thing, or at least being drawn to it. But it is the way to win. And internally within the company, we know if my production managers could sit there and coordinate projects from the site all day, that would produce the least amount of callbacks. The problem is we don't have enough time in the day to do that. So we kind of run that line of, this project is not at risk. This one is, let's spend a little more time here. And we go like that. So it starts from the start. And I tell you what, if there's one tip I can give people about stopping callbacks is do each task 100%. When you're taking off switch plates to paint a bedroom, take them all off. When you're sanding patches, sand all of them in a methodical way so you don't miss one. When you're doing a coat of paint, 100% coverage, top to bottom, left to right, wet edge. Doing each task 100% will prevent those big things in the future, or all those little things from accumulating, you know. All right. Available in Canada. So Canada's not letting, if you're talking about my master's classes, I'm not allowed in Canada. I cannot physically cross the border right now. I wanted to go see a friend in Vancouver earlier in this year. And as of right now, I don't think Canada's letting Americans in. So for now, Ask a Painter is probably the closest thing you're going to get to one of those unless you come here. I'm sure we're still letting you guys in. So price point for builders. Todd, fellow Minnesota. Do you have a set price point for new construction? No. I have my templates that generally dictate what we need to be at in order to be profitable. And then, Todd, as you probably know, you probably do more new construction than I do. Your builders have a whole nother plan for you where they say, yeah, that's great. Too bad we only budgeted for this, or we need you to come in at this. And, you know, there's times where my painting company and new construction intersects, and there's a lot of value to the clients. And there's a lot of ways that it doesn't, because we are not production painters. We are sort of the pet the dog, work with the family, keep us clean site, you know, shake hands, you know, vacuum sweep dust after us. And new construction demands a little more, a little less of that and a little more of something else. And usually the builders already set their price. So honestly, Todd, and you probably know this too, but you can charge whatever you want. The builder already quoted that job at something using a set percentage, and he's just looking for somebody to fill that slot. You are a Lego piece. And if your Lego piece equals that dollar amount that he needs and you can do it on the schedule, he will pop you in there. If not, he'll find somebody else normally. So yes, but I will say this, normally what that question is getting at is, what do you charge for that? Mine stuff's all over the place. It depends what people want. Generally, I get a lot of very specific things dictated to me, and so anywhere between, you know, a 1-coat system on the ceiling, a 3-coat system on the walls, you know, 6-coat systems on woodwork, and it's kind of all over the place. What I internally use now is because there's so much work out there that we don't have to scramble for a bunch of new construction work. And new construction work is very sexy to contractors because we get this builder, he's going to do a bunch of houses, we're going to get in with him, they're high price. But honestly, a lot of people don't do well on them because general contractors will run you ragged, and that's their job. That's why they're good at this stuff. They are human managers. They manage all these feral cats called subcontractors, and they have to be heavy-handed with them like that. The only problem is we're the trustworthy ones, and we don't need to be treated like that. So it's one of those things where I price my things equivalent to what I can make on residential repaints because we don't need to discount our work. There's more than enough work to go around for us. So I don't see any reason to lower my prices to fit builders when we can just go out there and work for private clients where our systems work probably a little bit better. So Todd, I hope that helps. Always good to talk to you. Always good to talk to you. Oh, Mike, how's it going, man? One of my favorite people, Mike McGrath. He's got some huge pictures of bucks in his backwoods up there. And tomorrow is the archery deer hunting opener here in Minnesota, and I'm going to be out and expect some pictures and some videos, but I know Mike's getting revved up too. I think his is a little bit later, maybe another week or 10 days from now. Oh, Parker, one of my most high-speed apprentices ever, going to college for business. Parker, what's the easiest thing to overlook or miss when estimating? For exteriors, it's prep. It's all the little things that take forever. So number one, if you're in that market of wood-sided houses or historic homes, it's always scraping and sanding. And when you get into historic homes, when you get into historic homes, it's always the RRP lead laws too, where you can't be pressure washing houses older than 1978 if you follow the laws. So it's not like you can show up with a wobble tip and buzz all this paint off. You actually have to suit up, you know, full hazmat suit, plastic the ground, capture all the chips, keep the neighbors safe. Prep is everything. Prep and priming. Almost everybody can estimate top coats correctly. It's everything that goes before the top coat to bring it up to speed. The one thing, Parker, I will tell you is that heights too. Heights is a very critical thing. People say, yeah, it's a taller side of the house, I'll just charge a little more. But they don't understand how slow it is to get on a 40-foot ladder, a 50-foot ladder, a 60-foot ladder, or get a lift into a site. We've had multiple projects this summer, some of the biggest projects we've ever done, where we've had $5,000 or $6,000 worth of lifts on one site just to get the high part. So that will throw people's off. If you only charge $10,000 or $15,000 for the exterior of a big old house, and 5 to 8,000 of that is used up in lifts. That doesn't leave you a lot of margin left over. And that's where things underestimate. So thanks for that, Parker. All right, guys, free show here. I showed you that awesome new free app from Sherwin that you can download right now, Sherwin Williams Pro App, and start sending estimates with it. It's a super clean way, super intuitive way to do that. Other than that, it's a free show. I'll stay on here as long as you guys are asking questions, making comments, and anything else. Anything you want to talk about, coding science, business, social media, whatever you guys want. So Brian, I agree with you on the drywall coordinating. Yeah, man, it's, honestly, Brian, you would appreciate this too, that I actually brought some carpentry and drywall services in-house just because we couldn't find reliable contractors who could do things to the standards we want. So we're trying to apply, the Nick Slavic painting and restoration standards to a drywall and carpentry processes. And couldn't be more proud of our craftspeople and master craftspeople in there doing that work there. So hidden messages within. Hover app, just downloaded. You're amazing. Yes. I'm going to show you guys something here real quick. I love Hover app. They've never communicated with me. I've tried to communicate with them actually, and they don't get back to me. Probably just lost in communication, but I will show you guys this. I'll share a screen with you guys. I love the Hover app because, again, when you're looking for pure clean data, and I'll show you an example here in just a second here, guys. Let me get this for you. If you want pure clean data, there is no quicker and more sort of effective way to do that than to actually get, let me expand that a little bit. So this building here is a historic restoration we're working on right now. And because I love to capture exterior production rates, what I do is I fire up my Hover app and you take 8 pictures of the compass points around the building like that. And usually within 24 hours, sometimes within a few hours, they spit out a complete 3D model of the house with more data than you could ever use. So you have, you can see this is the foundation plan right here. Look at this. Insane, right? They spit this out to you, and I think the most I've ever paid for this for one property is $120, and it was sprawling. It was huge. It was a 10,000 square foot, give or take, wandering house like this. I think this one was probably only about 60 or 70 bucks to do. And you might say, well, that's a little bit of money. Yes, but if you had to go out there and measure that thing, how long would it take you and how accurate would that be? With almost no effort, with taking 8 pictures on your phone, you get this, and it will spit out information accurate to the inch. So here's what you're looking at right here. They will say, here's siding, here's brick. They will actually show you how much brick is on there. Let's see. There's 36, like right here. I can't show you my cursor. Right there. 3,600 square foot of brick. And they'll even break out the wood trim as well. There's 142 square foot of wood siding on this house. So this is insanely good. They actually label all the windows for you. We actually just estimated a couple months ago, estimated a historic home with probably 78 windows on it. I took pictures of 8 sides of the house, and it actually numbered every window for me. So when I made my estimate, me and the client could both look at it and say, window number 1 is this, window number 2 is this. And it actually had measurements and stuff on it. So again, what's your time worth? And how accurate do you want your data? For me, this is a no-brainer. I'll spend a couple $1,000 this year to capture the most clean, pure data you can possibly get. All right, where were we here? Yes. Brian, there's Brian. Thanks a lot, man. I really appreciate it. I'm the guy that brings a light in when estimating to show that. Yeah. One of the biggest things I do to put potential clients at ease is when I describe our interior wall painting process, I describe how we use high-powered LEDs, spot LEDs, shine them sideways down the wall, so you just see every defect just pour out of that wall, just like when you get that raking sunlight over those big stairwell walls, and you can see every dip and dive of that wall. And yeah. All right, guys, free show. Anything you guys, oh yes, inspired by you, Corey Leister. She's the one putting on classes periodically in Pennsylvania, and she's going to be having me up there soon too. So that's right up in your neck of the woods, Mike. Yep, absolutely. One of the brightest minds in the industry. Oh, nice. Phil Klein, my man from Iowa. Phil's such a good dude. We actually let him into the gathering of Minnesota painters, even though he's from Iowa. We don't hold him against that. So, okay. Can we see your checklist by chance that we can tweak and use? I've been using your 100% with employees. They asked why I keep repeating it. I hope it soaks in because, you know, honestly, when I look at young, bright, curious minds in our industry and I look at master craftspeople, a lot of the times the difference is that curiosity, that constant drive to improve, and the ability to buckle in and do something 100%. If you're going to tape a foundation, start at one corner, 100%, don't miss a spot. And when you're done, you're done. When I see people waste time or these projects spiral out of control, they're always mistaking one light off the outside of a house or one outlet plate cover off, or, there's one touch up here, we'll get that later. 5 days later, those things compound and you have a whole nother day or two of work on the site because you've just let these little things accumulate instead of just take care of it now. So yeah, let me show you let me see if I can find an SOP checklist for you. And if you guys email me, nick@nickslavic.com, I'll definitely share this stuff with you too. So, here's one I don't think I've ever shared with anybody before. This is my, sorry, let me get this readable for you guys. All right, come on. All right, there we go. Deck SOP checklist. So this is an evolving thing. Every year we change our processes, but right now this is sort of what we do. And again, these are my SOP checklists. This isn't the only training we do. These are the things to send out in the field. So we do training, we do mentorship, we do apprenticeship where you constantly have a craftsperson guiding an apprentice. And these are the things for the apprentice to hold up and say, okay, I don't want to sit here and have this handed down verbally by my craftsperson. So I'm going to sit here and I'm going to learn this list. My craftsperson is going to fill in everything in between. So again, it starts with greeting, calling card, yard sign. So some of my people have calling cards themselves, business cards that they hand clients. But you greet the client, you verify the scope, you pop in a yard sign, you create a project plan. This is an hour-by-hour account of how you're going to get this deck done in time. Take before pictures. And again, what we're looking for is beautiful before pictures. And we want to be looking for previous damage too. There was one deck we did this summer where the previous painter had spilled paint all over the landscaping, and we were going to be doing the same color as that. And I just wanted to make sure that my people were safeguarded against a client that might say, you guys got paint everywhere. It's like, nope, here's pictures of the entire property, the entire area. And that was all here previous to us, just to keep everybody honest. We set up a shop. We put our tools out in a nice little area to work with, move the client's personal items off the deck. Oh, sorry. This is this is the garage door one. I forgot to. We'll relabel this one here. This is one that I've actually been working on. Garage door SOP. So garage door. This is one that I was actually working on last week in putting up. I guess I forgot to update the title, but garage door goes up. You put a drop cloth underneath. You put the garage door back down again. You remove inserts from the garage door. You know, sometimes the windows have those little vinyl or plastic inserts. Sometimes they just, you know, pinch out like that. Start in the upper left, do one row at a time all the way across. So I like to go panel, 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 panel. You shift down, panel, 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 shift down, panel, 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 like that. Cycle the door up. So again, between coats, you want to put the door up and down to break the seal of that paint. I've had really good paint. Paint the inserts while you're waiting for the garage door to dry. Again, top coat 2, cycle the door up and down, install the inserts, clean up the job site, update your project plan. Again, record your hours in paint. This is the basis for job costing, which our production managers will gather, which then would tell you per square foot of a garage door how long this takes you, and then load up ladders and load gear. So yes, I have one of these for, I don't get too granular. I don't get that specific. I have one for just walls. I have one for ceilings. We had a garage door just because there's some specific things about garage doors, about cycling it up and down, putting a drop cloth underneath, things like that. I thought it was worthy of getting an SOP. So hope that helps. There's Corey. Corey, how's it going? We were talking about you before. Your ears are probably ringing, but people are wondering when they can see me in a class again. And you're probably the next one that's having me. I haven't announced the new schedule for the master's classes because I was given deference to the PCA and some industry partners to see what they wanted to do with it all. But if you guys haven't, Corey can even pop in some information here if it's privy for everybody else. I know it's been announced in a closed group, but that's up to her and what she wants to do with it. So. Oh, yeah, Phil, talking about new construction. That depends on which builders you're working with. Spec, custom home builders, wait for ours. Yeah, Phil's doing it right down there. I think you've got a good relationship from what I can see on social media with builders. And seems like they actually look for people like you who can actually do a really good job. So, yeah, I hear you, Todd. Adam. All right. Sorry to ask you where you repeat. Where online do you list your online resources and upcoming events? So I usually just go through Ask a Painter and make calendar dates on there and list them periodically. Right now, I had about 12 events put on the books, including potential trips to Colombia, Australia, and Brazil that were all put off because of COVID. I had a bunch of Spanish speaking events that I was going to have my friends in the industry who are bilingual help me to sort of reach new audiences with this stuff. Those got canceled or postponed. And all those events were kind of postponed, and we're just starting to get our feet under us again with these new events. The scene states have different regulations for these, but Corey Leister is on here watching right now, and she's probably the one with the next, it's her event. I'm just there to add value. So you'd have to talk to her. So yeah, next week for deer hunting and Adam, Adam Voisey, if you contact me or just if you follow and like Ask a Painter or just Nick Slavic on Facebook or Instagram, you'll see all those updates too. So. Okay, for lead training certification, do we need just one of us to get it or all the painters? So you really only need one person that can be a foreman to oversee the sites, but then they sort of need to oversee the site and put their name on it. We've sent multiple people, production managers and stuff like that, to those RRP classes. It wouldn't hurt. It's really good training, but really all you need is one person, at least in Minnesota. Check your local regulations. Don't take me for a word there. If 2020 is a year of mastering the basics, what have you learned from this year that can be a theme for next year? Yeah. So you know what? This is probably a theme that I've been doing for 10 years and will do for another 10 years. It's mastering the basics. I mean, everything from running a business, just doing your daily tasks that need to be done, your estimating, being prompt, doing your book work, doing your job costing, things like that. It can be applied to painting or that. So honestly, this is a theme forever. I'll probably oscillate through there between job costing, prep work on houses, between the craft and that. But honestly, the biggest thing I've taken away, I've been completely fixated with the human condition over the last year. And COVID has really brought out a lot of very interesting things in people, in the industry, in the world, in neighbors, in culture, and things like that. And PBC, people be crazy. And this has been a strange year. And I'm always interested, if I could wave the magic wand and help out my young apprentices, I would have them master basics. What every young apprentice is worried about is doing it fast. And what I want them to worry about is doing it good. In the military, a Special Forces soldier, Parker, you're in the military, you will understand, a Special Forces soldier once told me on this exercise we were doing, I was all worried about keeping up, running, ruck marching, exercises in the woods, movements, things like that. And he said, don't worry about it. Master the basics. Slow is smooth and smooth is fast. You start off slow, magically you become smooth at it. Once you become smooth over time with repetition, you become fast, and it just happens. Sometimes you don't even realize it. With weapons proficiency, especially, you learn that, if you're, I didn't grow up in a house full of guns. And, when I went into the Army, they gave me the same machine gun that Rambo used, the M60, the Hog. And, so when I was there, it wasn't sort of familiar to me. And, but they drill you, and you start slow and you feel clunky and you're embarrassed and you always feel self-conscious about it. Pretty soon you get a little smooth. You can reach in and change a belt-fed machine gun, or you can change out a hot barrel, without an assistant or a spotter with you there, or you can zero it in five round bursts and things like that. And then pretty soon after you just keep doing that, you get fast at it and you look back and you didn't even realize that you were doing that stuff. So that's the thing that I've learned. It's the hardest thing is not this crazy, like, oh my God, craftsmen have secret techniques, secret tips, secret tools, and all this and that. The finest craftspeople, the finest business owners I know and that I look up to in this industry and other industries master the basics. They just do simple things really, really well, consistently, without fault. They're never sick for work. They're never late for work. They always have their work done. They're always 15 minutes early. They're always thoughtful. They're always thinking ahead. That's something that's very hard to teach people. That's what I'm taking away from this last couple of years, which is some people have this innate sense of that and will do that regardless. Some people won't. You just have to adjust the way you mentor and teach and apprentice people to do that in order to help them succeed. So I hope that helps, Parker. I read you're doing apprenticeship classes through PCA. Definitely looking forward to that. We struggle with training. Yeah. So again, I'm always careful with apprenticeship because I'm a firm believer, and I'm a firm believer that teaching people painting is not a problem. You just need to keep them in your company long enough so they can absorb the repetitions and the skill that you guys have. Apprenticeship for me is more finding the right people, inspiring them in a certain way, and attempting to keep them around, inspired and curious for as long as possible so this knowledge can sink in. I'm a firm believer that you can, just by creating a warm family environment and having some people who know what they're doing, you can create a really competent painter within a couple weeks if the person has the right personality type for it. Some people who have a personality type that's more patient and slow moving and more cautious, it might take them 6 months. That doesn't mean it's good or bad. That's how they learn, and that's how they have to be comfortable with it. And you just have to recognize that in people. There's been multiple people in my company who are some of my finest craftspeople now who had a very slow start, and it felt like they plateaued at points, and it felt like they maybe regressed at points. But you got to keep working with them. You got to keep inspiring, keeping them happy, keeping them around so that you can break them through to the next side of that stuff. And patience is a big thing, you know. Yeah. Sometimes the rock stars give you a bad impression about everybody else because not everybody else is a rock star. Some people pick stuff up very quickly. Some people don't. And it's not good or bad. They may all end up being insanely good craftspeople, insanely profitable painters, but you just need to wait it out and know which ones are the patient types and which one are the kind of fast movers and things like that. So, but yes, I do not teach painting specifically. I have master's classes devoted to it, but really it's more of like, you wouldn't be surprised that it has to do with more the theory and the mindset of it than it does the actual techniques. I'm always happy to talk techniques, but I could give everybody my Google Drive. I could give you my van full of tools. I could give you like this. I'm setting up for some Purdy projects right here. I'll give you everything I have. The problem is you got to be consistent. You got to be good enough to put your head into it and do each task 100%. It doesn't matter if you have the finest tools on earth. So. Oh, Mike, how's it going, man? Good to see you. Oh, man, Eric, come on down to North Carolina. I lived in North Carolina for 4 years in the Army, and that is a spectacular place, most of it. I was in some really interesting areas, but I would gladly come down to North Carolina. Eric, if you want me down in North Carolina, first step is talk to your friendly paint rep. If you have your claws into one of your paint reps locally, talk to them and set it up and just say, hey, Nick Slavic travels the country doing this stuff, and he's willing to come down here. And through those paint companies and supply companies, they can actually sponsor me to come down. And I'm trying to think if I've never charged for an event. Everything I've done has been the sort of public radio model, which is somebody will pay for it, a corporation, an entity, a paint company, an organization, and it's always been free to the people there. So if you take the legwork, to get it going, and I can set it up from there. We can start an event down there. We can do it safely, and we can do it productively too, which is even better. So, Dustin, I've really mastered simplicity. People tell me I'm you're not, man. Dustin's awesome, man. Love Dustin. All right, everybody. So I think that's about it for me. Let me see here. Make sure I didn't miss any. All right. That's awesome, everybody. Thank you so much. Thank you to the PCA for being an underwriter of this. Like I said, public radio model. This has been free for over 4 years. All my events have been free, and it's because underwriters like the PCA, the Painting Contractors Association, which has an insane amount of free resources and thoughtful minds there, and to Sherwin. Sherwin, like, listen, this is a free show promoting a free app that you can use right now to move your business into the 21st century of professionalization. Doesn't take any effort. If you can use Facebook, you can stumble into using the Sherwin Williams Pro app. It is so easy. It is so intuitive to use. It guides you through it. Check it out, guys. It's free. You can't complain about free. So, all right, we want to come scuba diving in Minnesota. Oh yeah, I just saw some pictures of you guys scuba diving. I think, was it you guys who saw a plane underwater too? That was really cool. Head, hand, and heart. Absolutely, Brian. Repetitive conditionings are the key. Yes. Oh man, comes from a lifetime of wisdom from Brian Santos. Do not forget that. So, all right, guys. It's been a good show. Thanks everybody. Have a good weekend, and we'll talk to you guys later.